honest to God, I don't really know how to use this machine. It's sort of trial and error, but hello, hello. Hold on a second. I feel like I don't hear myself in these. Hello, 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 hello. I don't hear anything. Not a damn thing. Hello, hello. Oh, see, now I hear it. That's nuts. See, I wonder. Hello, 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 hello. All right, I gotta stop saying hello, hello. All right, so I'm gonna start off by taking my lion's mane because it's like, what time is it now? Oh, it's 7:30 in the morning. Don't ask me why I decided this morning to just jump out of bed and start recording the podcast, but I did. I set up the equipment yesterday. It's sort of like a two-stage process for me. I have to set up the equipment, see it, understand that, okay, the space is ready for me to sit my ass down and record, and then muster up the energy to actually record. Um, but I'm back, baby. I really am. I'm back. It's been, I guess it hasn't been that long since you've heard my voice on a podcast because I was involved in that short-lived experiment at a local coffee shop, which will remain nameless for now until they sign on as an official sponsor. But I was regularly featured on that podcast. But prior to that, back in 2018, at the turn of the century, my friend Allie and I had a very, very successful podcast called Mostly Unscripted, where we covered reality TV news and recaps, and it was very popular, and we had some fun doing it. And then she decided to have a baby, and that was the end of that. So it's been a long time since I've really anchored my own podcast, and I was very kind of unsure of what the format should be. And I've toyed around with many different names and concepts over the years, but very recently just decided I can't think too much about it. I have to just come up with a format that allows me to jump on the microphone, even if it's for 3, 5, 7 minutes a day. I don't know why I went with odd numbers there as opposed to 2, 4, 6. I said 3, 5, 7, but maybe that's something my future therapist will explain to me one day. But essentially, Pezz Dispenses is meant to be these little kind of short and sweet bursts of information, not to steal from the original concept of Twitter, but essentially I've done that. But really, it's meant to be like just short, funny anecdotes and conversations with interesting people and me giving my unfiltered opinion on what's happening in pop culture, but also what's happening in my day-to-day life. So there will be many episodes that I think people think are boring or just about nothing, and that's kind of what this is meant to be, really sort of like the Seinfeld of podcasts, a podcast about absolutely nothing in particular. And I figured today would be a good day to start because I'm going to the DMV later, so I think I'll have some interesting stories to share. And not only that, but yesterday I went to the dentist. So it's sort of 2 days back to back doing things that I absolutely hate, like truly awful, horrible things. I also have a doctor's appointment later today, all the way in Lake Grove, New York. I mean, I have to look on the map. I don't even know how far that is, but essentially I'm going to see a laryngeologist because I've noticed that my singing voice is not what it used to be. I'm having a really hard time hitting certain ranges of my vocal range, especially the falsetto higher notes. And sometimes when I sing, or always now when I sing, I reach a point where I'm like gasping for air and coughing and my throat is itching. So something ain't right in this region. And I went to see an ENT and they did the test for acid reflux. They said there was nothing unusual, no irritation. And they did some other scoping and there are no vocal nodules or polyps. So the next step is to go to this laryngeologist, and I think they really observe my vocal cords as I'm singing. So anyway, I'm going to take my morning lion's mane, which I get from Dragon Hemp in Sag Harbor. Love them. Not sponsored yet. But no, I really love the lion's mane. It helps me stay focused and sharp. And I definitely notice the difference when I don't take it. Okay, so it's already been 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's my problem. I think that I'm going to be able to do like short little bursts of information, and then I start rambling and going off on all these tangents that have no connection whatsoever to the original point. But essentially, what I wanted to really establish today with the first episode was that there will be episodes, and that the podcast is back in a new form and for a new generation, for the Gen Zers out there. I guess my GERD is also back because I took one sip of coffee and I'm already having like a burning sensation here. So let me just start with a little recap of yesterday's dentist visit. Now, I admittedly have a phobia of the dentist that goes back to childhood. And I can't pinpoint if it was Dr. Golden, who was my hygienist, or Dr. Glideman, who was my orthodontist. Now, I had definitely have fonder memories of Dr. Glideman because Gloria, as she would say, Gloria was the receptionist, and she was just a bright light in a stormy sea, because I had a very tumultuous relationship with my orthodontist for like 11 years. I had braces for an ungodly length of time and just generally like hated every visit and was always in pain after the tightening of the brackets. And then, I would do like, colors for Halloween and like a true fucking like, stunad running around the streets with, my teeth representing the holidays. But, I don't think that I was as traumatized from the orthodontist as I was from the regular dentist, because I can vividly remember. Oh, by the way, I'm filming this, which it's just I didn't want to do, but I had to cave, and I realized that the kids want to see. They want to see this beautiful face, so I have to film. I don't know that the lighting is going to be good, though. Let's see. Maybe that. Let's see. Oh, wow. I think that made a huge difference. And I should have known that. Can't be backlit. This looks kind of ugly. It's like a fucking linen curtain, but whatever. So I don't know if it was, well, no, sorry, I've said that. It was definitely the dental hygienist that I think instilled this phobia in me. I had a lot of cavities for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, because I didn't eat a lot of candy. I brush my teeth regularly, but somehow or another, I always ended up with cavities. And I also always had to have teeth pulled. I had no room in my mouth, and they had to, pull teeth left and right. And then there was the fluoride. And that, I think, is really what traumatized me most, because to this day, I can't look at or touch a piece of styrofoam like that consistency, that thin, flimsy styrofoam horseshoe-shaped thing that they would squirt that gel in, which was the most vile, disgusting thing. And they would stick it in your mouth, and oh god, the taste of it! I remember gagging and dry heaving in the chair, and so then when I reached a certain age, I stopped going to the dentist, and I'm not proud of that. I'm not, but I am now in my late 30s, kind of paying the price for it and making a decision and an effort to focus on my mental. Okay, that was a Freudian slip. I meant to say dental health, but I should probably be focusing on both my mental and dental. Maybe there's like a way to bundle it, like optimum. Like I need the mental dental package, doctor. Dr. Rosner, DDS. And by the way, I would use going to the dentist as therapy, because while I'm sitting in the chair, I would love to be able to have a conversation with Dr. Rosner, but she's too busy chatting with the assistant, which, by the way, is what I find to be so disturbing about the dentist, is that you are there and they are inflicting severe, not pain because they numb it. So I don't really feel pain, but it's discomfort, it's displeasure, and you've got metal tools in your mouth, and you've got the sounds of grinding and drilling, and you taste blood, you've got, hopefully water, maybe something else spraying all over your face. You've got 4 sets of fucking hands in your mouth. You can't do anything. You are rendered completely like, what's the word? You're paralyzed in that moment because you can't say or do anything. And you're just looking around, and the two of them are having a conversation as if there's nothing unusual happening. Like, we're not torturing another human being right now and having a conversation about the weather or the upcoming Super Bowl as if it's just another Wednesday. So I find that to be a little dystopian, like literally 2 people torturing another person while they have a cheerful conversation. See, there was a tangent. But anyway, what I was saying is that I've now decided to focus on my dental health, and it all started because I chipped my tooth a few months ago. I was drinking. This is a cautionary tale. I was drinking out of a large glass water bottle, like a Pellegrino essentially, and I missed the opening in my mouth, and instead I forcefully hit my front tooth, and it chipped. And in that moment, I'll never forget how I felt. Because I could feel the pieces of the teeth start to like crumble, and I was like, oh my God, is this? First of all, I thought it was a dream because I've had that dream before where your teeth start to fall out. But I was like, oh my God, my tooth is falling out. Thankfully, the tooth didn't fall out, but it was chipped. It was all jagged. So I scheduled an emergency cosmetic procedure with Dr. Beth Rosner in Watermill, who is fantastic, might I add. Truly has basically helped me overcome my fear of the dentist. So anyway, so I went to her and figured while I'm there, let me get a cleaning. Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, because that opened up a whole Pandora's box of, okay, well, you need x-rays. Okay, well, you need scaling in all 4 quadrants because you have plaque under the gum. Okay, well, while we're doing that, let's replace all these silver fillings like I'm fucking Yolanda Foster over here. And you never want to hear the dentist say, we're going to do it in quadrants, because that means that, you have to go for 4 separate visits, and that it's bad if they have to separate it by areas of the mouth. But ultimately, I'm very, very grateful that this all happened, because now I've gone. Yesterday was my 4th quadrant, the lower right. And she's in and out in a breeze. She numbs you, and she does her thing, and you don't feel it. But like I said, it's just a little unpleasant. And then I tend to, this is graphic, but I tend to bleed a lot. So then, I'm sitting in the chair for like 15 minutes after, gargling and spitting out the blood. And it's gruesome and it's grotesque. And again, the 2 of them are like giggling, while they talk about their upcoming ski vacations. And I'm literally suffering in silence. But that is what it is. Now I have to go back 2 more times to do the fillings on my upper teeth, getting rid of that fucking retro silver and putting in the white. And that'll be stage 1 of my dental health journey. I would love to explore maybe Invisalign, because I do have some shifting and some teeth where they're not supposed to be. I did at one point think about getting veneers. I thought about like the concept. I never actually thought about it because A, I can't afford it, and B, I would be apprehensive. And I'll tell you, my dear friend Dorothy Wang recently, yes, we are friends, okay? She comes into the restaurant. She's given me 2 Labubus to date, and I expect more in the spring and summer when she's back in the area. Dorothy, if you're listening, hi, happy belated birthday. But anyway, Dorothy was on an interview recently, and she said, she would never get veneers herself because they have to shave your teeth down. And then they showed pictures of what your actual teeth look like with veneers, and they look like little, like, I don't even know what. They literally shave your actual tooth down to like a very, very tiny little square protruding from the gum, and then they affix the fake tooth. And I wouldn't want to commit to that. I would rather have slightly fucked up teeth than yeah. So that was my story about the dentist, which is now is that what's that noise? Something's ringing. Anyway, I'm alone in the apartment today because my dear housemate, flatmate, Kristen, we don't share a bedroom or a bathroom, so I'm not going to call her a roommate. We have a lovely little pied-à-terre in Sag Harbor Village. She is in the city for Cab Franc Forward, which is a new initiative in New York State where local wineries are creating essentially this organization, this coalition, where the intent is to establish Cabernet Franc grapes as the official grape varietal of New York State, because I guess the conditions in New York are particularly ideal for growing this type of grape. Now, we'll just file that under things that you guys probably do not care about, so I don't know if I'll include that in the episode, but stay tuned. What else did I want to discuss on today's episode? Well, so I have the DMV later. Like I said, I've got all my paperwork because now twice I've had an incident at the airport where I've been detained. Something is amiss with my passport. It does not scan in the machine. I don't know. The page is messed up. The coding on the page got eroded. I don't know, but it won't scan. And it's caused a problem for me twice now. And the last time I was there, she was like, do you have another form of ID? I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's my license. She's like, oh, you don't have a real ID? I'm like, oh my God, it's time. Like, I have to get a real ID before May. So I'm going to the DMV today to do that. And then I'm going to the laryngologist. I might hit up Costco while I'm in that area. And then, then I'll come back and maybe I'll do a recap later of my DMV visit. But before I go this morning, I will say there were a couple of other items on my rundown that I wanted to discuss. Let's see, what did I write down? Oh, the Grammys. Well, I only watched about 20 minutes of the Grammys because I was bored. I'm always bored at the Grammys. I feel like, some of the performances I saw were good, but nothing like that exciting. And I honestly, I don't know. Trevor Noah just did not do it for me. First of all, I don't even know if he's a comedian. I thought he was like a journalist. I don't know why he is hosting something like this. No, he's got like a talk show, but he's not that funny. And as opposed to someone like Nikki Glazer, who hosted the Golden Globes, like Nikki, you can tell, writes her own jokes, and every joke is in her own voice, and it feels organic and authentic to who she is. Trevor felt like he was just delivering jokes that were written for him. Like it was a script and he was reading it. It didn't feel original or authentic whatsoever. So, yeah. And you know what? Until the Recording Academy decides to recognize Ariana Grande in the way that she deserves to be recognized, I will not have kind words for Mr. Clive Davis and the rest of his constituents at the Recording Academy of Music. I am happy that Steven Spielberg won a Grammy. I'm not sure what for, but it solidified his EGOT status, which is very exciting. It's always exciting when someone achieves that, And those of you who don't know, that are not in the biz, I will explain. The EGOT stands for Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. So it's like the 4 major entertainment awards for all of the sort of disciplines. You've got film, television, music, and stage. So only a handful of people have received all 4 of those awards and reached EGOT status. Off the top of my head, I know John Legend did recently. Who else? I feel like, is there a chance that Jennifer Hudson did? I know she's got 3 of the 4. I know she's got a Grammy, an Oscar, and let's look this up. I'm very curious. If she did, that would be fucking impressive, okay? To start on American Idol and then reach EGOT. Let's see. Here, I'm doing this. Jennifer Hudson, EGOT. Yeah. Emmy for Baby Yaga, Grammy for her album, Oscar for Dreamgirls, and Tony as a producer on The Strange Loop. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I also wanted to talk a little bit about Japanese sweet potatoes, because I swapped my normal sweet potato for a Japanese sweet potato this week for my ground beef protein bowl. I also swapped the ground beef for ground turkey, and I have to say both of those were a miss. I don't know what people find more appealing or appetizing about a Japanese sweet potato, but it did not do it for me. It had much less flavor, much less color. Sure, the skin was magenta, I think. I'm colorblind, but it looked pretty purple to me. But the inside was like white and just not as sweet or flavorful. And the ground turkey as well just didn't have the same flavor. But I think I need to just suck it up with the turkey, because I eat a lot of meat in those bowls. I like volume, and it turns out the beef is a lot higher in calories. And right now I'm trying to do a calorie deficit, because I do want to shed a few pounds, and the only way to really do that is to minimize your caloric intake. And these bowls, while protein rich, the way that I prepare them with the cottage cheese and the potato and the pickles and the sun-dried tomatoes and, the gelato. Now, they're a little calorie dense. So there was that. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. The Devil Wears Prada. I wouldn't even call it a trailer. It was more like a long teaser. I have to be honest. My initial reaction was disappointment. I thought, this just seems like off and disjointed, and I don't know. I've seen the reactions, and people are speculating as to whether or not Miranda Priestly, Meryl Streep's character, has dementia or some sort of cognitive decline because she doesn't remember who Andy and Emily are. If that's the case, that would be an odd creative choice. I do think that it's more likely that she just is so consumed in her own life and world that she doesn't remember 2 random assistants from 20 plus years ago. But even still, it's something about Meryl's delivery in the trailer left me thinking, I don't know. She didn't seem, I don't know how to say this without, like, God forbid, insulting Meryl Streep. But I mean, you know, it felt a little like hollow and lifeless. Like it just, she didn't seem to be as engaged in these moments as she normally is as a performer. Like there's almost this like vacancy behind her eyes and this like look of confusion, and yeah, it was very odd. I was not impressed with Meryl in that trailer. And I don't know if that's just because we're seeing very, very small glimpses of this film and those moments will be explained in the full film. I'm hopeful because I would never, ever, ever bet against or doubt Meryl Streep's ability. But I remember watching it. I say I remember like it was like yesterday. Of course I remember. Although, honestly, these days, but no, I remember watching it hours ago and thinking, this seems out of character for Meryl. She doesn't seem like, you know, as invested in this role, let's say. Like it almost felt like Meryl herself was like not really into it. Like she was just like half-assing it. But we shall see. We shall see. I mean, that is, I think, a hot take. What else? Well, I guess what time is it now? 7:55. I have to be in Riverhead at the DMV at 10, which means I need to leave Sag Harbor. I'm going to leave by 9 to be safe. So I have 1 hour. Well, I got to make my bed. That takes me about 35 minutes. That has become, I don't know, another thing my therapist needs to unpack. Why does making my bed stress me out so much? It's because my bed currently is against a wall, so I can only really fluff and zhuzh one side of it. The other side I have to like tuck in. And so it oftentimes looks imperfect. And that's something I struggle with. When I make my bed, normally I like to get on both sides and make it look symmetrical and perfect and fluffy, and I can't do that. So that's why the thought of making my bed every day stresses me out, because I know that it's going to be a challenge and a struggle. Oh, movie recording has timed out. Oh, we got to fix that. I got to get a bigger memory card. All right. Bye.